In this lecture, I will cover about the concept of string editing using the dynamic programming. So what actually the string editing means? Given certain strings, that is two strings are being provided as an input. Consider x equal to x1, x2, x3 and so on till xn, and another string that is y. Y is being provided with y1, y2, y3 and so on till ym. It doesn't mean that how many number of letters that are present within the given string x should have the same number of the letters in y. It may differ, the number of the letters in x compared with y. And where xi indicates, that is I value ranges from 1 to n, be the members of the finite set of these symbols. Yj, where jn ranges between 1 to m, known as the alphabets. Objective of this string editing is you need to transform x into y using a sequence of edit operations on the string x. You have to perform the modifications, that is the edit operations on the string x. And what are those edit operations? The edit operations which includes, that is either you can perform the insert operation, delete operation, and the changing from a particular symbol x into another kind of the symbol. So these are the operations that can be performed on the string editing. Given two strings, that is x and similarly y, two strings are being provided, and you need to transform the given string x into y by using the following edit operations. That is, you can perform insert, delete, and similarly change. That is what the objective of the string editing with the minimum cost. The cost of the sequence of operations is the sum of the cost of the individual operations in the sequence. What does this mean? I'll explain with an example. So the problem of string editing is to identify the minimum cost sequence of edit operations, which is used to transform the given string x into the y, and where the edit operation has to be performed on the x string. And let d of xi be the cost of deleting the symbol xi from x, and I yj, that is insert a particular element from the yj, that is from the given string y into the x, and c of xi comma yj be the change which includes the cost of changing the symbol xi of x into yj. And the edit distance between the two strings is the minimum number of the insertions, deletions, and substitutions which are required to transform x into the string y. As a part of the example, consider the string x, that is given string x to be equal to ABACED, and the y string is ABACCED. What is the object of this string editing? You have to transform x into y, and you have to make operations on x with the minimum cost. That is, what does this mean? That is like, for example, here you have consider some string that is x equal to something like a tag, and y to be equal to something like bag. So you need to transform x into y. You need to transform x into y with the minimum number of the edit operations. What can be the possible edit operations? That is, if you need to transform x into y, you can change the symbol, that is, you can delete this particular x, that is a delete operation, delete on x1, and then replace, that is insert y1, delete x2, that is like, for example, delete x2, and then insert y2, delete x3, and then insert y3. Then this can be transformed x to y. I'm saying like one of the possible solution. And the other possible solution is just change the symbol t with y1, that is c of x1 comma y1. You're replacing you're changing the symbol which is present in x1 with the letter y1. So when you replace this one, what is the final value of your dx? That is replace x1. This is your x1 and this is y1. And you're replacing x1 with y1, then it is equal to, that is back. So if you consider the cost operation of edit operation, like for insert and for delete, the edit operations are equal to 1. That is for inserting, one cost, the cost is 1. And for deletion operation, the cost is equal to 1. And whereas for change, then the cost is equal to 2. So how many number of operations have been required here in this case? That is delete operation and then the insert operation. 2, that is 1 plus 1, that is equal to 2 into 3, that will be equal to 6. And unlike in this solution, where you are performing only one edit operation, that is C of x1 comma y1. And what is the cost? That is, if you assume this scenario, the cost is equal to 2. Then here, in order to transform x to y, the cost is equal to 2 in this solution. And the previous solution, the cost is equal to 6. And that is how we can say the minimum edit sequence. That is, if you consider these two solutions, 2 is the minimum cost. And this is the solution for transforming x to y for the given strings, x to be equal to tag and y to be equal to back. So based upon this example, that is x is being given as and y is being given in this example, and you need to transform x into y. So what modification has to be done? That is, you need to insert C. And when you insert C, then we can select that this has been converted into the respective given string. Of course, there is another kind of example which will be providing about what exactly the operations are to be performed. Similarly, consider the x to be equal to ABACED and then y to be equal to BACED. What operation has to be performed? That is delete of x1. That is delete A. And similarly, if you given the string x equal to ABACED and ABADED, then you have to substitute the D with the value to be equal to C. That is change operation is being involved. So this is how we can transform the given string x into y. And consider the sequences, that is x equal to x1, x2, x3, x4, and similarly x5 with the values, with the symbols AA, BAB, and y to be equal to BABB. And let the cost associated for each insertion operation. Consider whenever you want to insert whenever you want to perform the insert operation, then the cost will be equal to 1. Similarly, if you need to perform the delete operation, then the cost is given as 1. These are the initial statements which are being given. That is assumptions, like what is the insertion cost, what is the deletion cost, and what is a cost associated with the changing of a particular symbol, which is equal to, that is 2. And one possible way of transforming x into y is, that is, delete each xi. The same thing which I've explained in your previous part. That is, delete xi and then insert yi, yj, and so on. And here in this case, the cost that has been associated with this edit operations are equal to 9. And similarly, the other possibility is delete x1 and x2. What does this x1, x2 indicates? That is A. When you delete this one, then the total cost that has been present is equal to, here we have the 5 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, if you need to perform, that is insert, delete x1 and x2, and then insert y4 at the end of the string. That is, given the string x equal to A, B, and y equal to B, A, B. And when you consider this kind of the edit sequence, that is delete xi and replace with yj and so on, then the edit operation will be equal to 9. And when you consider another possibility, that is delete x1, that is delete this x1 and delete this x2, and then insert y4 at the end. That is, you are inserting an element. So x is being transformed into y. And what is the total edit sequence? So for delete, it is equal to 1, and for this also delete, it is equal to 1, and for inserting it is equal to 1. Then what is the total cost? Cost will be equal to 3. So this is the optimal solution to transform x into the y string. So a solution to the string editing problem consists of the sequence of decisions, one for each edit operation. And since it is a dynamic programming concept, so the dynamic programming solution for this problem can be obtained as follows. That is, define the cost of I comma j be the minimum cost of edit sequence for transforming x into y, where I ranges between 1 to n for xi and j ranges between 0 to m for yj. So you need to compute the cost. So cost of n comma m is the cost of the optimal edit sequence for I equal to 0, j equal to 0, cost of I comma j is being given as 0. Also, if j equal to 0 and I is greater than 0, then we need to transform x into y by the following edit sequences. So these are the some of the formulas or the equations which has to be taken into the consideration to transform x into y and finding the cost. That is, cost of I comma 0 is given as cost of I minus 1 comma 0 plus delete operation on xi. Similarly, if I equal to 0 and j is greater than 0, and separate equation has been involved, that is cost of 0 comma j, which is given as cost of 0 comma j minus 1 plus I stands for insert, d stands for delete. So I of yj. So where if I is not equal to 0 and j is not equal to 0, then x can be transformed into the y in one of the possible 3 ways. That is, transform x into y using the minimum cost edit sequence and then delete xi. And the corresponding cost will be equal to cost of I minus 1 comma j plus delete on xi. And the other way is, that is, transform x1, x2, etc. xi minus 1 into y1, y2, and so on, yj minus 1 using the minimum cost edit sequence and then change the symbol from xi to yj. The cost that is been associated is cost of I minus 1 comma j minus 1 plus change. C stands for change. Change from xi to yj. And the other way is transform x1, x2, xi into y1, y2, yj minus 1 using the minimum cost edit sequence and then insert yj. This corresponds to the cost sequence, that is cost of I comma j minus 1 plus I of yj. This will be provided with an example. So the minimum cost of any edit sequence that transforms x1, x2 will be, that is, minimum of above 3 statements. That is, cost of I comma j equal to 0 when the value of your I is equal to j, that is I equal to j equal to 0. Similarly, if j value is equal to 0 and I is greater than 0, you have to use use the computation statement, that is cost of I minus 1 comma 0 plus delete on xi. If I value is equal to 0 and j value is greater than 0, then you have to go for the computation statement cost of 0 comma j minus 1 plus insert of yj. And if both the values are greater than 0, I value is greater than 0 and j value is greater than 0, then you have to compute cost dash of I comma j. And how to compute cost dash of I comma j, which is being given by the formula minimum of cost of I minus 1 comma j plus delete on xi, comma the next part, that is cost of I minus 1 comma j minus 1 plus change the symbol from xi to yj. And you have to also find the other one, that is cost of I comma j minus 1 plus insert of yj. So these are the formulas or the computation statements which are being required to find the cost of how many number of operations that are being required to minimize or to get the optimal solution. So consider the same kind of the string editing problem, that is x equal to AA, BAB, y equal to BA, BB. So each insertion and deletion takes 1 unit of the cost, and changing of a particular symbol, that is whenever you encounter, that is in your previous step. That is, if it is a deletion operation, then the cost is been associated with 1. And if it is an insert operation, then the cost will be equal to 1. And whenever there is a change from xi to yj, then the cost is equal to 2. That is what you can understand from this kind of the edit sequences. So cost of I comma j is being given. Based upon your previous slide, the cost of I comma j equal to 0 and so on, depending upon the values of your ij respectively. So the first step, that is, you'll be finding cost of 1 comma 1. So when you need to find the cost of 1 comma 1, that is minimum, just replace the values, because here if you consider I value is equal to 1, that is greater than 0, and j value is equal to 1, which is greater than 0. Then in such cases, you have to find the cost depending upon the values, that is cost dash of I comma j. That is I is greater than 0, j is greater than 0, which is being given by minimum of cost of I minus 1 comma j, deletion of x1, and so on. Replace the values of your ij respectively, where you get the minimum value to be equal to, that is between 2 to 2, that is equal to 2. And cost of 1 comma 2, in the same fashion, I is greater than 0, j is greater than 0. And the cost of 0 comma 2, and so on. So that will be, I mean, just to calculate how to find the cost dash of I comma j. So the same problem, consider the string editing problem, x equal to same thing, y equal to BABB, and within the question itself, it has been given for insertion and deletion, it takes 1 unit of the time. I mean, one cost is 1, and for change, it is 2. The cost is equal to 2. You need to find the minimum cost edit sequence that transforms x into y. So you have to recall these kinds of the cost formulas. So within the case of the cost formulas, given x equal to, that is 5 letters, and y equal to, that is 4 letters, because according to the input itself, I value becomes 5, j value becomes j, because you can observe cost of I comma j. What will be the values of your I, what is the value of your the j has to be understood. So I value depends upon how many number of values, letters that are present in x, and y, that is, I mean j, how many letters that are present within your y is the value of your the j, the range. So the next step is given the x string, y string, and we also know the formulas, the computation statements. And then since it is a dynamic programming concept, you have to compute cost of 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 1, and so on. And whatever the last cost that has been associated, that is cost of 5 comma 4, but that will be the minimum cost edit sequence. So at the first step, you'll be finding cost of 0 comma 0. So based upon the formula, that is I value is equal to 0 and similarly j value is equal to 0. So cost of 0, 0 will be equal to 0, because according to the formula itself, it has been given as 0. And to the next case, you'll be finding cost of 0 comma 1. So cost of 0 comma 1, I is equal to, this is your I value, and this is the j value. So I equal to 0 and similarly j equal to 1. So when I is equal to 0 and j is greater than 0, I equal to 0 and j greater than 0, then you have to use the computation statement cost of 0 comma j minus 1. That is cost of 0 comma j minus 1, that is 1 minus 1, that will be equal to 0, plus insert of yj. That is, for insert operation, it takes 1 unit of the time. So cost of 0 plus 1 will be equal to 1. That is what you got. Cost of 0 comma 1 will be equal to 1. In the same fashion, depending upon the value of your I and j. So if you need to find cost of 0 comma 2, that is I is equal to 0, j is greater than 0. Then in such cases, the third statement, this cost of 0 comma j minus 1 has to be implemented, where you found the value of your the cost of 0 comma 2 is equal to 2. In the similar fashion, cost of 0 comma 3, you have computed the value to be equal to 3, and you have found a cost of computed cost of 0 comma 4 with the value to be equal to 4. And to the next step, you'll be finding cost of 1 comma 0. So when you need to find cost of 1 comma 0, is I is greater than 1. So I is greater than 0 and j is equal to 0. So I is greater than 0 and j equal to 0. So the second computation statement has to be implemented. So replace the values of your cost of I minus 1 comma 0 plus delete of xi, where you get the value to be equal to 1. So you have computed cost of 1 comma 0 is equal to 1. In the same fashion, that is, find cost of 2 comma 0, where you get the value to be equal to 2. Cost of 3 comma 0, where you get the value to be equal to 3. Cost of 4 comma 0, you get the value to be equal to 4 after computing and by selecting the suitable computational statement. And similar cost of 5 comma 0, That is the second computation statement. That is cost of I minus 1 comma delete of x. So cost of I is also being calculated. And to the next step. So far, we have computed cost of 00204, cost of 102, cost of 5 comma 0. And the next step is you need to find cost of 1 comma 1. What does this means? That is I value is greater than 0 and j value is greater than 0. So when the value of your ij is greater than zeros, that is I is greater than 0 and so j is greater than 0, then you have to find cost dash of I comma j, where cost dash of I comma j is being given by, that is minimum of cost of I minus 1 comma j. So replace the respective values. So the first part, that is 2, that is the first part with the cost to be equal to 2, the second part with the cost to be equal to 2, and the third part with the cost to be equal to 2 is been obtained. And what is the minimum? Minimum is equal to 2. So replace that kind of this. So cost of 1 comma 1 will be equal to 2. In the same fashion, find the cost of 1 comma 2. 1 comma 2, that is I is greater than 0 and similarly j is greater than 0. That is why you need to compute cost dash of I comma j. So when you compute cost dash of I comma j, that is cost of dash of I comma j equal to minimum of cost of I minus 1. Replace the values of your I, j respectively, and where you get the values, that is 3 comma 1 comma 3, and out of which the minimum is equal to 1. So cost of 1 comma 2 will be equal to 1, and similarly cost of 1 comma 3 5, that is using the same formula, that is cost dash of I comma j, and then you get the value to be equal to 2, and similarly you'll be finding cost of 1 comma 4, and depending upon the formula that is to be implemented, I value is greater than 0, j value is greater than 0. That is how you need to compute cost dash of I comma j. So substitute the same thing in the formula, that is cost dash of I comma j. That is by substituting the values of your I, j respectively. So for deletion operation, it takes the cost is 1, and for change, the cost is equal to 2. So when you compute this kind of the cost, that is minimum between 5, 5, and similarly 3. So 3 is the minimum. And that is how we got the cost of 1 comma 4 is equal to 3. In the same fashion, find the cost of 2 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 2 comma 3, 2 comma 4, and so on. 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. And similarly, this is how you'll be computing the various kinds of the values. That is cost of 5 comma 2 is being known, cost of 5 comma 3, and similarly cost of 5 comma 4. In this fashion, we'll be finding the cost. And as I mentioned, whatever the last value that you got, that is cost of 5 comma 4. This indicates the minimum cost edit sequence to compute or to transform x into y. So here you can observe the minimum cost edit sequence is equal to 3. So far, we are not aware about what operations are to be performed, what kind of the edit operations are to be performed. We have found only the cost. The cost is equal to 3. So cost of 5 comma 4 is equal to 3, and the edit sequence, that is delete of x1, delete of x2, and similarly insert of y4. And the other possible sequence is change of x1 to y2 and delete of x4. So we know that these are the edit operations that has to be performed. But how to identify based upon the calculations that we have done? That is, look into cost of 5 comma 4. That is, which has resulted, that is, there are two parts, that is with the minimum value to be equal to 3. Either you can take insert of y4, or the next part you can change, you can take c of x5 comma y4, two solutions. If you take one of the solution, that is with the minimum value to be equal to 3, and consider what is the part that has led to the minimum value, that is 3. That is cost of 5 comma 3 plus insert of y4. This is where you need to observe the insert of y4. So insert of y4 is one of the edit operation. So look into the cost of 5 comma 3. How did we compute cost of 5 comma 3? With a statement like a minimum of cost of 4 comma 3 plus d of x3 and so on. And out of which, what is the minimum? The minimum is equal to, that is 2. And which particular part has resulted to this particular part? That is cost of 4 comma 2 plus change of x5 to y3. So include that when you change, one thing that you need to observe, So here you are changing from x5. So what is x5? This is x1, 2, 3, 4, and so 5. So x5 will be equal to b. And what is the value of your the y3? This is y1, 2, 3. So b comma b. So what you have to consider is, if the symbols are same, b comma b, then you should not take this into the solution. By changing, if both the characters are different, then you have to take that kind of the solution. So here, according to this case, you are changing. There is no letter change. B x5 is equal to b, y3 equal to b, and hence this should not be taken into the solutions. And similarly, cost of 4 comma 2. Within your cost of 4 comma 2, observe what is the minimum. So minimum is equal to t 2. And what is this respective part that has resulted to 2? That is cost of 3 comma 1 plus c of x4 comma y2. So observe what is the value of your the x4. So x4 is equal to a. And what is the value of your the y2? Y2 is equal to a. Since both the letters are same, we should not take into the consideration of this kind of your the edit operation. So the cost of 3 comma 1. And what is the formula related to cost of 3 comma 1? And what is the part that has resulted to the minimum? That is 2. And that is 2. So here this particular part has resulted to the minimum value to be equal to 2. And observe the c of x3 comma y1. What is x3? X3 is equal to b. And what is this y1? Y1 is equal to b. So here bb, both the letters are same. So this should not be taken into the consideration, into the solution. And look into the cost of 2 comma 0 and find what is the minimum. So minimum is equal to 5. There is only one part. So you have to perform delete of x2. The next edit operation that has been taken is delete of x2. And similarly, observe the cost of 1 comma 0, how it has been computed. So cost of 1 comma 0 has been given as cost of 0 0 plus delete of x1. And this is the minimum, that is 1. So what is the operation that has been performed? That is delete of x1. So delete of x1, delete of x2, and similarly insert of y4 is one of the possible solution. So whenever you have insert and delete, directly the cost has been associated with the cost to be equal to 1. And whenever the change of edit sequence, edit operation has been involved, as a given example, c of x5 comma y3. So whether you have to take this edit operation or not depends upon the letters that are being present in the respective thing. That is x5 that is equal to b, y3 that is equal to b. If you have the same letters, then you should not take the edit operation. Now take the other scenario in somewhere. You got something like your x1 comma and similarly y1. So what is x1? That is a. And what is y1? That is b. Then you have to take this kind of the edit operation. So that is how we can say about the edit operations that can be performed on the string editing. So basically the string editing, which involves the given certain kind of the string, that is x will be given, and y, that is y will be given. It doesn't mean that whatever the number of the characters that are present in your x string should have the same number of the letters in the y string. It may differ. And the next thing is the edit operation cost is also being given as an input. That is, there are 3 edit operations. That is insert operation, delete operation, and the next one, that is change from one symbol to another symbol. That is c of xi comma yj. And whenever the insert operation has been performed, certain cost is being associated, which is equal to 1. And whenever there is a delete operation, certain cost is being associated, that is something like a 1. And for changing, it is also the cost is being associated. So according to our example, we are taking for insertion operation, it is equal to 1. For deletion operation, it is equal to 1. And whereas from changing the symbol from 1 xi to yj, then we can say like the edit cost is equal to 2. Then in such cases, in the next step, we have computed the tabular column, where within your tabular column, that is ranging from 0, 0 to, that is whatever the number of the characters that are being present in your x, that is 5. That is cost of 5 comma how many number of letters that are being present in your y, that is 4. So cost of 5 comma 4. You are starting the tabular column starting from cost of 0 comma 0 till cost of I comma j, where I indicates the maximum value of your the x, the number of letters, that is 5 comma the number of the letters in y, that is cost of 5 comma 4. And then you will be computing cost of 0 0 0 1 0, 2, and so on, depending upon the formula that is being used. What happens if the value of your I is equal to 0, j equal to 0? Then what is the computation statement of your the cost of I comma j? And similarly, when the value of your I is equal to 0, j is greater than 0. What kind of your the computation statement has to be used? Similarly, when the value of your I is greater than 0 and j equal to 0, some computation statement is been involved. So take that into the consideration. And similarly, when the value of your I is greater than 0 and j is greater than 0, then cost dash of I comma j, what is the minimum between, and so on. So that kind of here the computation statement is to be involved. And after solving, you can find whatever the value that has been associated cost of 5 comma 4, that will be the minimum cost edit sequence. And how to find what is the edit operation, you can look at this kind of here the slide and how we have computed found the edit operations that are to be performed.